to my understanding, I have a mother. Every of you guys, every person who's listening into this one have a mother, and their tendencies, the ladies, the woman's tendency is, and when they're of that particular age, they do give birth. That's natural tendency. So how are they going to restrict? Are they telling that no ladies of birth, those people who are, of the age from anywhere between 18 years to 50 years age are not allowed to come into United States? Or how are they going to determine that a particular lady is not never going to give a birth in United States?
Well, their plan is to not provide a passport to the child that's actually born, with a list of things that their parents may or may have not done. So if either parent is not a US citizen and they are, employed by a foreign embassy, they're employed by an international organization, they're ambassadors, they're a person that is an alien enemy. But the one that is scary is if either parent of that person engaged in a commercial transaction to purchase or access birthright citizenship for the person, um, or engaged in a commercial transaction to ensure that the person's mother is present in the United States to give birth. So if I am an H4 holder and I am outside the country, and I buy a plane ticket to the United States, that of course would be a commercial transaction. If I later give birth to a child in the US, are they going to claim that I engaged in a commercial transaction to ensure that I was present in the US to give birth? I mean, that's what the ridiculousness is here, but I do think that's what they think they have the power to do. Stephen, do you think they actually have the power to do this? Has got any leg to stand on?
I don't think it does. I mean, there are enumerated grounds that are in regulation. Now it is a regulation, so Department of State can change it as to why Department of State can not issue a passport to United States citizens. It's, outstanding child support, tax debts, certain criminal matters, stuff like that, right? Like things that would make sense, not providing a passport. None of it is your parents may have had a commercial transaction. Now, this one's a little bit different because it's not saying you're not a citizen. This isn't really, it's a 14th Amendment issue in that it's a due process issue, but it's not saying you're not a citizen. It's just saying we're not going to give you citizenship documents, the passport. If the administration wants to crack down on what they view as birth tourism, that's their prerogative. They did it in the first Trump administration, right? Like it's been in the Foreign Affairs Manual. I don't think you can deny passports, even if, okay, we've engaged in birth tourism, which may or may not even be legal, okay? That still doesn't prevent the fact that they're a citizen, right? And so you can't issue it. And so, again, I don't think I think this is a election year executive order, right? We've got to try to get the base excited, and it's the dang leftist judges that are doing it, not, the Constitution.
I think so. This executive order is also to frighten the foreign community, the people who are legitimately living in United States, though. Have you seen there is nothing about undocumented aliens in this particular thing? It's mostly about legally present in this country only.
Mm-hmm.
Not much is written about that. And I believe that until this has been thrown out by the courts, which I think so pretty soon it's going to be thrown out in the courts, they're going to use it to restrict people coming into United States. So right now, if there is any child, anybody who is 18 years old to 50-year-old woman who wants to travel, even on a H4 visa, H1 visa outside the country, L1, L2 visa, going outside the country and coming back into the country, may get extra screening for it, though. Now, I have seen people who are a B2, B1, B2 visa getting screened. I had no issues with it because if they are coming here to give a birth, it makes sense for them to not allow them to come into the United States. But what if a lady is pregnant and she is traveling and she's 3 months pregnant or 4 months pregnant, she's traveling to her home country. Let's say she's going to Canada and she's trying to come back on a TN visa. Would that be a problem? Could be. Could be a problem. Even though the H1 and H4 are a dual intent visa, H1, H4, L1, L2 are dual intent visas. Now, that has nothing to do with the child birth. So they may still face a problem too if they're traveling outside the country. So until the things are a little bit more clear, I do not want the people who are already here in United States, women who are between 18 and 50, should not travel outside the country and come back, and they should stay in the country. Now, those people who are outside the country, who are the non-immigrant visa holders, now I'm not speaking of B1, B2 visa people, particularly I'm speaking about F1, F2, or because these are the long-term staying people. And H1, H4, L1, L2, if they're coming into United States, even if you are not pregnant at this point of time, I definitely want you to be very cautious to provide all the documentation necessary and face them at the point of the CBP. Now, do they have to answer? I never intend to give any birth to anybody, Emily. I mean, that's against the nature is what I'm thinking of women.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I think I would argue that the executive order talks about engaging in a commercial transaction to ensure that the person's mother is present in the US. So if you are not pregnant yet, how could you have engaged in that commercial transaction to ensure that you're present in the US specifically for that purpose? I think that if you have another valid, legitimate purpose of coming into the US, then you should be fine. The problem is we're not dealing with rational, reasonable people that follow the Constitution. We're dealing with people that are looking for any reason to deny entry. And the other issue is it's going to take how long? Potentially a year before courts block this. I think we'd probably get an injunction rather quickly, but is it going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court again? That took a year and a half for the last one. So everything is in limbo up until that point.
Yeah, Emily, I tend to agree with you. I'm not, when I first read this, and look, I will always err to the side of caution, so I'm not going to say Rahul's wrong. But I think, again, a strict reading of this is to ensure that the mother's pregnant. So maybe if you are already pregnant and you're like, okay, I got to make sure I'm going to have birth in the United States, maybe then they could stop you. But I think if you're going about your day, or even if you're pregnant, hey, I got to come back to work. I think that's a little different. So maybe if you're pregnant, you have a little bit of caution. I will say, every time my wife's been pregnant, her doctors have always cautioned her about airline travel anyway. But again, to your point, Emily, I'm going to use my favorite word here. We've got a bunch of jabronis at ICE and CBP who are finally given authority, that they can go out there and flex their muscles and make people's lives miserable. So what do we see come from this? But again, until we see anything that says we're going to ban people at airports, I don't know. This is more about, we're not going to issue you a passport if your parents did one of these things.
But right now, when you submit the passport, all we do is that you just submit the birth certificate and get the passport. The only thing that is required is, if there is a issue between wife and husband, there is a custody issue, they don't give the passport, which is reasonable. That's fine. That's absolutely legal way to do it. But right now, if the mother and father are, on the same agreement, which 99% of them are, and all they do is that mother and father signs off and the kid gets a birth certificate. Now, what do we have to submit right now? When you say, what do you mean commercial activity? You're saying buying a ticket is a commercial activity? What about she's eating a chocolate?
I mean,
What about a
again,
banana? I mean, that's a commercial activity. She went to Kroger and bought a banana.
I will go back to what I said at the beginning. I just looked, 88 days from midterm elections. I think this is political theater, right? We got to rile up the base, make everybody happy. We're doing what we can, and we need to keep, power so we can continue to do all these things. I don't even know how this is enforceable, the way it's written.
Yeah. How do you, as an applicant for a passport, I'm submitting my child's passport application, how do you prove a negative that you did not engage in a commercial transaction to ensure that the mother was present in the US for the birth? I guess you submit your plane ticket showing you came before you were pregnant. I don't know what else it would be. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then like, what's the standard, right? Like, okay, you are pregnant, you travel, you went on a cruise, let's say, we were taking a vacation. So now do you like submit a statement saying, oh, I was just on vacation, or I was traveling for work? It wasn't about the pregnancy. Like, what's the standard of proof there? And I'm sure we'll see policy memos in the next couple of weeks come out from Department of State and CBP and all that on how they're going to interpret this. But I don't even know that if we say that this is legal, let's just say that it's constitutional. I don't know how you enforce this executive order other than election day is 88 days away.
I think so. This is more about a political stunt, actually, rather than this is a political stunt rather than actually a policy which is going to stand there, Emily. That's what I'm thinking. Only until this election, and after this, they know that this is going to be lost in. This is going to be lost in. This is going to be lost in the court. That is fair. But right now, in the interim period, we may see some port of entry issues, is what I'm thinking about, and maybe some visa denials. But I'll be very surprised if the passport will be denied, because that's people aren't going to go there. Nobody's going to wait there. They're going to go to court, and the court may be contempt of court too. I don't know.
We go look back at the Supreme Court decision in Trump v. Barbara. Alito talked a little bit in his dissent about birth tourism. But if you go back and listen to the arguments, and the Solicitor General was talking about birth tourism, and it's a new world. It's a new world. We never had this. And the Chief Justice Roberts, it's the same Constitution. If they want to put things in place that restrict, and again, they've had it in the Foreign Affairs Manual before, and so there isn't a constitutional aspect of it. We can talk policy about birth tourism, but constitutionally, it's very different.
Yeah, I mean, if your real issue is birth tourism, you don't solve that by not giving the child a U.S. passport or denying them citizenship. You solve that by not letting them into the country or not giving them a visa when it's clear that they're coming into the U.S. for birth tourism. And you have to enforce that.
And we've seen investigations and all that into these supposed, birth tourism businesses, it's what I'll call them, that they're investigating, and maybe there's criminal charges there, but that is within the administration's power to crack down on.
They should
and not
the person who's going to work for a company. They're going to work for Apple or whatever companies they work for.
I agree. I just, again, I think you're right, Rahul. It's a political stunt. Shocking.
But please keep updated right now. This memo just came in. We have weekly Tuesday live sessions from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time every week. For all the changes, what is going on, though, we do give updates, though. So it's not like where we can give all the information at one go. We don't know. These are developing things that will happen. And we are practicing lawyers. We are not YouTubers. We don't make any money. No money comes from us from the YouTube. For us, nobody pays us to do the YouTube. We are practitioners. We do our immigration practice, and we come across all these cases. When something come across it, we will update the information. We want you to subscribe and like our channel so that anything that comes out, you should. We also want you to subscribe to our blog at rnlawgroup.com so that new developments that are affecting, we only address legal people in the United States and non-immigrant visa people, green card holders are our targeted audiences. But you need to be aware of what's going on, the developments that are going on. Right now, at this point of time, we are only thinking of traveling outside the country. May be a little bit dangerous for the people, especially the ladies, of course. And maybe if anybody is pregnant and traveling, wanting to come into United States, we may want them to speak with an immigration lawyer before you enter into the country. We want the people of childbearing age coming into the country, if they are not pregnant, to be very, be careful on what exactly you speak. That's all at this point of time, as far as my updates are concerned. But we'll keep on updating. Emily, what do you say?
Yeah, I think we just have to see how this is going to play out. Certainly it's going to be in the courts probably pretty quickly, and we'll take it from there. So take this all with a grain of salt that this does appear to just be for politics and for election year and for fear. And so try not to let it discourage you in any way from doing what you would normally do, but just tread carefully.
We always have something not good thing coming up from the immigration. Thanks for Trump administration. We are discussing about a policy alert where the USCIS reasserted that they can deny the applications without issuing an RFE if the basic documentation is not there. Emily, this was the policy before in the Trump administration. Is it right, Stephen and Emily? What's the new alert about?
Yeah, so it was previously the policy during the prior Trump administration that they came up with a list of required initial evidence for every type of application, and it's posted on their website with each form. And if you submitted an application or petition without one of those required pieces of initial evidence, or if the documents you submitted showed that you clearly there's no way you could possibly qualify for the benefit you're applying for, they could just deny it flat out, take your money, deny it, and not issue a refund and not issue an RFE for an opportunity to correct it. That did go away during the Biden administration, and now they have resurrected it. And it applies to anything that's already filed or pending, anything that's filed going forward. The good news is, Stephen, did you ever see anything get denied in the prior Trump administration under the same policy, at least from an employment-based immigration standpoint with people using lawyers?